Okay, so where we left off. Oh, so we left off at 62b3 at the last paragraph. So we had read a paragraph, a story where someone who went away for many years, when he came back to his house, his wife had a heart attack from seeing him, and so she died. So someone else said, when I go back, I'm not going to have a heart attack, and we give my wife a heart attack. So he went to the base medrash and sent a message so his wife wouldn't be surprised. But in the meantime, his son came and he didn't recognize his son. His son didn't recognize him, so he thought that he didn't know his son was his son, and he thought that the son was a Talmid Chacham. I mean, he was a Talmid Chacham, but he didn't know it was his son. So he stood up for him, and his wife said, why are you standing up for him? You don't stand up for your son. So now the famous story of Rabbi Akiva. Samach Beis Amud Beis. Fourth line from the bottom. Rabbi Akiva, Raya de Ben Kalba Savua. Rabbi Akiva was the shepherd of Ben Kalba Savua. So Ben Kalba Savua was very rich. Anyone who was hungry would go to his house and then not be hungry anymore. That's why it's called Ben Kalba Savua. Even if someone was ravenous as a dog, they would leave Savua. They would leave satiated. Chazise Barate David Tzniel Maili. His daughter saw that Rabbi Akiva was a tsunua and a very fine person. Amrale, she said, Imika dashna lach va'azat leveirav. If you will marry me, will you go learn Torah? Amrale in. He said, yes. Ikachle betzino ushtarte. So he was Makadisher in private, and she sent him away. We're at the bottom of 62b. Yeah, the last paragraph. Shama avua, but then her father heard about it. Afkami beise, he threw her out of the house. Adra hanam minachse, and he made a neder. Adra means he took a neder that she wasn't allowed to get any benefit from his property. Azal v'yasav trace sreishnin b'veirav. Rabbi Akiva sat for 12 years in the base medrash. Kiasa, when he came back after 12 years, I see bahade tre sre alfe talmide. He had 12,000 students with him. Shamei lahu savat amar la. He heard that there was a certain elderly gentleman telling Rabbi Akiva's wife at Kama. How long will you lead a life of being a living widow, separated from your husband completely? So Amrale, she said to him, Ila diditayas, if it was up to me, Yasif Trace Reshne Achrine, he could say another 12 years. Amar, so Rabbi Akiva said, so it's more explicit in the other Gemara. We'll probably read that in a couple minutes. So right, yeah. So the last time he was coming to visit her after 12 years, and he heard her say this, so he never even said hello. He turned around and went back to the base medrash. So Amar, he said to himself, Rishus Kavdina, I have permission to go back to learn. Hadarazel, he turned around and left. V'yasav Trace Reishne Achrina V'Rav, and he spent another 12 years in the base medrash. Kiyasa, when he came back, I see Bahadei Esrin Varba Alpei Talmidei, came back with 24,000 students. So for whatever reason, he accumulated 1,000 Talmidim per year on average. It seems after 12 years, he had 12,000 Talmidim. After 24 years, he had 24,000 Talmidim. And the Gemara Yevamos tells us that's a different thing. They died during the Sfiras Omer period. Shamat Visu, so his wife heard that he was coming back. Havas Kanafla Lape, she went out to go see him. Amrale Shiba Vasa. her neighbor said, Shili mane lavushvi kase, borrow some clothing and cover yourself. Not literally that she wasn't that she needed to cover herself, but saying that she didn't have her clothes weren't too fancy. She didn't have nice clothes. So they said, borrow something nice so you'll have a nice dress when you go out to see him. Amr lahu, she said to him, Yodea tzaddik nefesh behemto. A tzaddik knows the soul of his behema. So not just the behema, she was saying, so he knows what's in my heart. A modern day of this expression would be don't judge a book by its cover. Rabbi Akiva won't judge me by this shmata dress that I'm wearing. Kimati legabe nafla, but when she got to him, she fell on her face. Kaminashgule lekare, she was kissing his feet. Havu kamadachve la shamai, one of his helpers, as a shamish, was pushing her away. Amr lahu, Rabbi Akiva said to them, Shavkua, let her be. Shaliv shalchem shalahu, mine and yours is all because of her. Meaning everything that I've gained, everything that you've gained from me, it's all because of her. Shama avoda asagav rabba lamasa. Her father heard that a great man came to town. Amar, he said, Ezel gaba, I'll go to him. After the Mefer Nidrai, maybe he can he can find a way to annul my vow that I said that my daughter can't have any benefit from me. And he didn't know that this was Rabbi Akiva was that this great man was his son-in-law. Also Gabe, he came to Rabbi Akiva. Amar Le, Rabbi Akiva said, Adaita de Gabra Rabba Minadarta. If you would have known that he would have been a great man, would you ever have made this neder? Amar Le, afilu perak echad v'afilu la'achas. If you would have known one perak or one halacha, I would have been okay with my daughter marrying him, but he didn't know anything. So Amar Le, Rabbi Akiva said, Anahu, I am he. Nafal al pevin ashko al kare. Ben Kaba Savua fell on his face and kissed him on his feet. B'yoiv le palga mimona, and gave Rabbi Akiva half of his money. So Tosos mentions that the opening that Rabbi Akiva found for the neder doesn't seem to be a real opening, because the opening had to exist at the time that the neder was made. So it's not our topic about annulling vows, so we won't go into that. Though later in the Masechta we are going to learn about the husband annulling his wife's vows. We saw it briefly a couple months ago about when she would go if she went with her father, or not with her father, but with the messenger of the husband, does she leave her husband, the father's domain of the husband being able to annul her vows or not? The daughter of Rabbi Akiva did the same thing with Ben Azai. So according to this, which doesn't seem to fit other Gemaras, that Ben Azai was a son-in-law of Rabbi Akiva, because a different Gemara in Sota says Ben Azai, he kept learning and learning because he didn't want anything to interrupt his learning. I think we mentioned him a few weeks ago. So according to that Gemara, it says he never got married. According to this, he was Rabbi Akiva's son-in-law. So Tosa says maybe he only did Erison with Rabbi Akiva, but not Nesuin. The Hainu Damri Inchi, and that's why people say Rechela Bas or Rechela Azla. The ewe follows the ewe. The female goat follows the female goat, meaning like mother, like daughter. That would be the contemporary stages. As the mother did, so does the daughter do. Let's just quickly see the Gemara Nedarim. The story there with Rabbi Akiva is a drop different. This is Daf Nun Amud Aleph in Nedarim. Rabbi Akiva iskache le brate Kaba Savua. Rabbi Akiva was Mekadesh, the daughter of Bar Kaba Savua. Shama Kaba Savua heard about it. Azre had not been called Nechse, so he made a vow that his daughter can't have any benefit from his properties. Still, they had Nesuin private in the this translates it as winter. In modern Hebrew, stav is the fall. Whatever. So there's minor detail differences. The Gemara seems to say they only had kedushin. This Gemara says that they had nisuin in secret. Havu ganu bei tivne, because they were so poor, they would sleep in the straw shed. Havu kamanake la tivna min mazia. So Rabbi Akiva used to take the straw out of her hair. Amar lai havi li. He said, if I would have enough money, Ramina lach Yerushalayim did hava. I would give you a golden Yerushalayim, which was a piece of jewelry. And perhaps because he was talking about taking the straw out of her hair, maybe it was something that went in the hair, some type of hairpin, or could be some type of little tiara. Asa Leo is diamond lahon kenasha. Asa Elio came like a person. V'kakari abava. He was calling at the doorway of the house. Amr or the straw storage shed. Amr Lahu, he said, Havule porta de sivna, can you give me a little bit of straw? The alda itzi v'leisli midam laguna, because my wife had a baby and I don't have anything for her to lay down on. Amr Rabbi Akiva and say, Rabbi Akiva told his wife, Chazi gavra dafilu tivna loisle. See, there's a person who doesn't even have straw. Amr Le, so Rabbi Akiva's wife said to Rabbi Akiva, Zil Havi Bei Rav, go to the base medrash. Azul Tartis Reishnein Kami Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yeshua. He learned for 12 years by Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Those names should be familiar to us from the Haggadah. Shama min achar beise, excuse me, Ka'asa leveis. Lemishlam Tartis Reishnein, at the completion of 12 years, Kiasa lebeisa, as he was going to his house, Shama min achar beise, he heard from behind the house, to Kamar lachad Rasha ledivisu, he heard a certain Rasha telling his wife, Shaper avid lach avuch, your father did the right thing, Chada de lo damilach. First of all, because he's not like you. It seems that your husband is from a different class. You shouldn't have married him. But oh, he let you be a living widow all these years. Amrale, she said to him, if it was up to me, let him go for another 12 years to be in the base medrash. Amar, so Rabbi Akiva said to himself, because she gave me permission, I'm going to turn around. So she turned and left. He was another 12 years in the base medrash. And then he came with 24,000 Talmidim. The Gemara here doesn't explicitly say that it was 12 years, but that's the implication. Also here it says 24,000 pairs of Talmidim, which would be 48,000 Talmidim. Everyone came out to see Rabbi Akiva. Also she, his wife, came. That Rasha said to her, where are you going? So in this, it doesn't say about the clothes, the way Argamar says. Amrale, she said to him, Yodea Tzadik Nefesh Behemto, the Tzadik knows the soul of his animal. So she knows that, not to judge by my cover, by what I'm wearing. Asale Schuzele, she went to see him. Kamadchan la Rabbanan, the Rabbanan were pushing her away. Amr Lahon, he said to them, Hanichula, let her be. Shaliv Shalchem Shalahu. Everything that I've accomplished in you is all because of her. Shamar bar Karbal Savua. So his father-in-law heard Asa v'ishtal al nidre. He asked him to be, if he could find an opening for the vow v'ishturi ishtre, and he was able to give him he gave a heter for the vow. And that Gemara doesn't say that, so that he gave him half of his wealth. That's what our Gemara says. The Gemara there implies that he gave himself because it says Rabbi Akiva became wealthy from six sources? And one of them was from Kalvasavua. So that's the Gemara over there. Okay, so 63A1 in the second column. Rav Yosef break the Rava Shadri Avola Be Rav Kamed Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, his father sent him, meaning Rava sent him Lebe Rav Kamed Rav Yosef to go to the base medrash of Rav Yosef. So the Rebbe was Rav Yosef, and the Talmud was Yosef, became Rav Yosef, the son of Rava. Paskule Shishne, they decided, to be there for 6 years. After he got married, Kiyasa Shnei, after 3 years passed, Mata Male Yom Kippure, as Erev Yom Kippur came, Amar, he said, Ezel Vachsinu Le'inshi Beise, let me see the people of my house. Shama Avue, his father heard, Shako Minoi, Benafaklape. So according to this, hello? Mike? So Shaka Mana, he took some type of weapon, as if he was, Rashi says, Ki'ilu Bali Lachem, as if he was going out to war. Amar Le, so his father said to him, Zonatzchani Karta. Yeah, very difficult. Did you remember your Zona, your prostitute? Ikeda Amri, but some said, Amar Le, Yonatzchani Karta. You remembered your dove. And that was the question. Itrud, they had a machlokas about it. Lomar ifsik, lomar ifsik. So Rava didn't, and his son Rav Yosef, neither of them ate the Suda Mafsekas that year before Yom Kippur. So it seems that Rava was upset that he interrupted his 6 years of learning to come home and not staying in the base medrash. Okay, Mishnah. In the middle of Samach Gimel Amud Aleph. Hamoredes habayla posting lamik subasa shiva dinner b'Shabbos. A woman who rebels against her husband, we reduce her ksuva 7 dinar every week. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shiva Tarfikin, 7 Tarfikin, which seems to be a smaller amount. Ad Masahu Poches. So how much do we keep deducting from her ksuva? Do we go down to 0 or past 0? Ad Keneged Kesuvos. The Tanakama says the 7 dinarin a week until it uses up her whole ksuva, and her ksuva is left at 0. Rabbi Yossi Omer Liolam Hu Poches V'Holech. You keep going even past the amount of her ksuva. You keep accruing debt that now she owes her husband. She'im tipo la Yerusha mimokam acher gova himana. That if she would get an inheritance from another source that would go to her, her husband would be able to collect it from her for the debt that she owes him. Achein hamored al ishto, and similarly, a man who rebels against his wife, mosifin al ksuvasa shlosha dinarin, we add to her ksuva 3 dinarim b'Shabbos a week. Rabbi Yehuda Omer shlosha tarfikim, and Rabbi Yehuda says 3 tarfikim. So there's the wife rebelling and the husband rebelling. Okay, moredes mimai. The Gemara says, what is she rebelling from? Okay, so before we read the Gemara, so once, according to the Tanakama, once you keep, after all these deductions from the weekly deductions from her ksuva, once it's down to 0, you have to divorce her. according to the Tanakama. Now, Rashi doesn't say it, but we know that there's a principle that's forbidden to live with your wife without a ksuva. We saw it kind of with the machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir earlier, that Rabbi Yehuda said that if you gave your wife a ksuva of 200 and then you had her write a document that I already collected half, Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to do that. Rabbi Meir says you're not allowed to do that because you still have to have the minimum ksuva that he owes, because we mentioned the ksuva is a little bit of a safety net for her, that her husband can't just get all upset and divorce her. He realizes that he has a real significant financial obligation towards her, so it's an impediment for him to divorce her, or at least make him think twice. He won't be able to act rashly and divorce her. It could check the husband's behavior. So one way of explaining it, not that Rashi doesn't say it, but once she doesn't have a ksuva anymore because she's forfeited this amount by these monies that she's obligated to pay, so they can't be married anymore, so they get divorced at that time, however long it takes to get the ksuba down to 0, according to the Tanakama. So the Gemara, moredes mimai, what is she rebelling from? What's she rebelling with? What's the state of rebellion about? She's refusing to have marital relations with her husband. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, Amar Mimlacha. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina says she's refusing to work, and we learned before that he supports her and he supports her, but he gets at least a certain amount, if not all, of the wages that she earns. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, V'chein hamored al ishto. Similarly, a man who the seifa, the end of the Mishnah talks about a husband rebelling against his wife. We understand if the rebellion is about marital relations, so just like she could withhold marital relations, and she's rebelling against him, if he withholds marital relations from her, he's rebelling against her. But if he's rebelling with her by not working, is he obligated to work for her? So we're just saying, from the fact that the second half of the Mishnah talks about the man who rebels, it seems to make more sense to say that the rebellion we're talking about is the withholding of marital relations. So the Gemara says there is a case where he refuses to work, and by him refusing to work, he's rebelling against his wife. Because he can say, I'm not going to give you any food and I'm not going to support you. So he can rebel, not necessarily by working for her, but by refusing to give her any, he's not going to support her at all or give her food or anything. Now that would be, I don't think we have a vague recollection, but I don't think I think there was something. What if the man, we had a machlokas beishama beis Hillel. We had a machlokas beishama beis Hillel. If the husband would, or if she made a neder that she wasn't going to get any benefit from him, and he upheld the vow. So Beis Shammai says that it's the husband is doing something against the wife and he's at fault. And Beis Hillel says, no, she was the one who made it, and she put him in a bad spot to have to confirm it or to veto it. So we had something about that. It was within the last 10 blot, I think. But I'll have to look that up later. But in a case like that, would that be similar to a case of mored, which we'll have to see how the Gemara concludes. But if that's what the rebellion is, maybe a certain vow that he would make, like my wife isn't allowed to have any benefit from any of my property, would they also have to get divorced eventually? Because or we also saw a couple weeks ago that there's a Mishnah later on that he might have a third party, a trustee, that he's not allowed to fund her directly, but the trustee is going to give money to her, and then he's going to give money to him, to the trustee person. Not that there's an official trust, but I think not. We would call it these days a trustee, but the Gemara just calls it a shalish, a third party, and the third party is the one who's giving money to her, so he ends up paying this third party the money, which will then indirectly fund his wife. So the Amar Rab, but Rab said, Homer in his own in front of Suva. Rav said that if a husband says, I'm not going to feed or support my wife, he has to immediately divorce her and give her the whole ksuva. So the Gemara says, but don't we have to discuss it with him first? So in the meantime, when we have some type of mediation that's going to happen, it might take a few weeks or a few months. So in the meantime, she might get an additional amount for the ksuva. Sure, we're not denying that he has to divorce her and give her ksuva, but it could be that if, let's say, it took 4 weeks for them to talk to him, and he's adamant he's not changing his mind, and he doesn't want to be mater netter or not net, whatever it is. I just said it's a netter, not necessarily is a netter, but she would get her ksuva plus the 3 dinner in a week for those additional 4 weeks. So they do have to get divorced, but there's some time between when he says it and the Beis Din or whatever investigates and finds that there's nothing they can do about it. So her ksuva would be increased by the amount of him rebelling against her and not supporting her for that interim period. Meisave. So now the Gemara asks again. We wants to know what moredes is. So according to this, the Gemara here explained that moredes can be talking about from malacha. I mean, obviously it's a machlokas. Rav Huna says she's rebelling by withholding marital relations, and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina said from work. So our first question was trying to say it can't be work, and this Gemara says yes, it could be work. So we're going to ask against the second opinion, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina. Excuse me, we're going to ask against the first opinion of Rav Huna about that it's marital relations from the following brisa. Basically, we had a brisa that says achas li. This rebellious woman doesn't matter if she is arusa nesua or arusa or a nesua. And again, we mentioned a few months ago that they used to. Sometimes they wrote ksuvos for even just for kedushin, not just for nesuin, which is not what we do. We saw even, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, where they were writing the ksuva with Reb Chia's family, and then before the wedding happened, the bride died. Nowadays, Hasidim still do it. When they get engaged, they write tanaim right away, which are they're pledging money to pay for the wedding and stuff like that. So that's what Hasidim do, or some Hasidim do when they get married. People like us, we write the ksuva, the tanaim at the at the table, at the Kabbal's Panim. So there's not really much time for anyone to back out of it then. Rashi says Arusa that she could rebel because she's refusing to enter into Nesuin. But whether she's Arusa, whether she's already married as a full Nesuin, afilu nida, even if she is a nida, afilu chola, if she was sick, afilu shmeres yavam, even if her husband had died and she's waiting for her her brother-in-law to do yibum, but she's, I guess, refusing to have yibum or chalitza done. So those are all rebellious women. So bishlam amador mimlacha shapir. We understand that all of this list of people of women can be rebelling against her husband or soon-to-be husband if it's talking about the refusing to work. Halamanda amar mitashmish, but if the rebellion is she's refusing to have marital relations with them, nida bas tashmishi, is Nida able to have relations with her husband? No, she's tmeya. We have to wait and go to the mikvah. So from this brisa, it seems that it has to be talking about malacha. So the Gemara says, no, we could push that off. Amrlacha eino doma l'misha yesh lo pas besilo, masha ein lo pas besi l'misha ein lo. So we had this phrase on the previous daf. It's not similar to someone who has bread in his basket to one who doesn't have bread in his basket. If while she's a nida, she refuses, so okay, not tonight, not tomorrow, until she has to go to the mikvah, but he knows eventually she'll go to the mikvah and she won't be a nida anymore. So in the fact that even though right now he couldn't have relations with her because she's a nida, but it's the psychological effect of her refusing affects him, even though it couldn't the marital relations couldn't take place today or maybe even tomorrow. So while she's in nida, if she is stating her refusal to have marital relations with him, it is an act of rebellion, even though they couldn't literally have marital relations while she's in nida. So we were trying to prove the second opinion that it's about work, and we said no, it could even work out according to the first opinion that it's marital relations. Ikeda Amri, some said that this question was asked in a different way. Tashmish. We understand this brisa makes sense if it's someone who's rebelling from Tashmish. Hanu de Kanichola. That's why a sick woman, a woman who is ill, is included on the list of these rebellious women. So we turn to Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Elamad Amar Mimlacha. But according to the opinion that she's rebelling from work, Cholabas Malacha, can a sick woman perform work? No, she's too sick to work. So Elamitashmish. So it must be that she's rebelling from having relations with her husband. So Kuliyama lo pligi to having moredes. Everyone agrees, meaning Rav Huna and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, the two opinions both agree that the two opinions in the Gemara, that what is the definition of moredes, both agree that if she refuses to have marital relations with him, she is a rebellious wife. Ki pligi, what are they arguing about? Rav Huna and Rav Yossi, Barabi Chanina. Mar sover mimlacha lo havis moredes, or mar sover mimlacha nami havis moredes. So when the Gemara said at the beginning, the Rav Huna says mitasha shamita, so that's the only case of moredes. And Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina agrees that Rav Huna's definition of moredes, of a rebellious wife, is a rebellious wife, but he also includes another category, not that she refuses to have marital relations, but also if she refuses to work. There's two cases of marital relations, of a rebellious woman. Gufa. So now we're going to analyze this brisa that we just quoted about the sick woman, the nida, the shomeres yavam. Amoredes albayla. Oh, excuse me, different brisa. Oh, it is the same. This is the full text of the brisa that we just quoted. Amoredes albayla, if a woman rebels against her husband, pochsin la miksuvasa shiva dinrin b'shabes. We reduce from her ksuva 7 dinrin every week. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says Shiva Tarfikim. It's a smaller amount. Rabbi Seinu Chazar V'Nimnu, our sages, our masters, went back and voted on it. They should announce about her for 4 Shabbosos consecutively. It doesn't mean 4 full weeks, but 4 Shabbos in a row, that she is rebelling against her husband. And the Beis Din sends her a message. You should know that even if your ksuva was 100 mana, now that's a lot more than 100 zuz or 200 zuz. Even if you had a $10 million ksuva, you're going to lose your ksuva by being rebellious. So achas li, and it's the same thing whether she's arusa or nesua. She only had erisin, or she also had chuppah, afilu nida, even if she's a nida, afilu chola, even if she's sick, afilu shomeres yavam, or even if this woman is waiting for her brother-in-law to do yibum or chalitza for her. So that was the brisa. So Amar la Reb Chia bar Yosef l'Shmuel. Reb Chia bar Yosef asked Shmuel, Nida bas tashmishi. Can a Nida have marital relations? So how can she be rebelling if it's the rebellion is from tashmish and from marital relations, and she is not and she's not able to have marital relations because she's a Nida. So Amarle, so Shmuel said, you can't compare someone who has bread in his basket to someone who doesn't. So even though she's a Nida right now, they couldn't have relations, but the fact that when she's a Nida, she would now state, I'm not going to have relations with you anymore. So that already is an act of rebellion. Have to mention, I mean, I don't have to, but last week or 2 weeks ago, it was 2 weeks ago, a Meshuggah campaign that the women said they're going, I think they called it a mikvah strike for Malki or something. Some Malki or someone who's her husband isn't giving her a get. So the wives are going to refuse to have marital relations with their husbands until Malki gets her get. We'll see from this Gemara that for whatever ulterior motive the women want to do it, it seems that they're in violation of their marriage to take that approach. And I have to get a safer. I forgot I have it by my seat over there. We have to about the 7. Be right back. Rabbi Bar Chama. Rabbi Bar Chama says, "Ein machrizna la'ala bevatik nesos v'vatim midrashos." They don't announce about her except in the shuls and the base medrash, meaning lahavdil. Nowadays, well, I haven't been there in a while, but in Geula there used to be a car with a megaphone on top, saying, Yerushalayim is not Paris. Men and women don't mix. Leave us alone. Be tznius, that type of thing. They also have a different one when someone dies that goes out with announcing, the funeral details. Yeah, that they still have. I don't know. Do Yerushalayim lo Paris? Vayamachanach Kadosh. That one I don't know if they still have. That one. Yeah, but the lahavda joke here. During COVID, that car was still going around.
I'm sure.
Even though if you left your house, you're gonna get a 100 shekel ticket or whatever it was. That car was still going around. So, meaning, where did they announce it? Did they announce it in the streets? So, Rami Bar Chama says they announced it in Shul. Rava says Deikanami, of course, that we can make a diuk that had to be the case because Iktani Arba Shabbosos Zuacharzu Shmamina, because it says you announce it for 4 Shabbosos consecutive, this one after another. So obviously, if you're announcing on Shabbos, you're not announcing it in the marketplace, but the announcement would take place in Shul. So it wasn't announced in the public square, whatever. It was announced in Shul. Amir Rabbi Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama made another statement. Pamayim shulchan lami based. The basin would send her a message twice. Our brisa just says that the basin would send her a message. Rami Bar Chama says that the basin sent her a message twice. Achas kodem hachraza, before they started making the announcements. Va'achas la'achar hachraza, and once when they were done with the 4 announcements. So, I mean, there's derech eretz in this, because maybe, I mean, and there's a big derech eretz in here. They say we're going to start a public campaign against you, but you should be aware of that. So if you change your mind now, we're not going to go public with it. Obviously, we know that nowadays there's at least one organization, they do the opposite. They announce that they're going to have a public demonstration. The opposite of this. But if you're going to have a campaign against someone, tell them privately beforehand, and you say if you change your mind, we will cancel this campaign. The whole community isn't going to hear about it. But there's a warning, and if you don't, we're going to make a public campaign against you. It is derech eretz, right? I think it's derech eretz. Darash Rav Nachman Bar Chisda. Before they publish the name. That's what I'm saying. They announce that they're going to have a public campaign. They don't send it to they make it publicly. Now, the based in themselves who puts a seif, do they tell publicly, privately first? I probably, but it also happens to be that these organizations are outside organizations that don't have anything to do with the based in. Do they still publish that like in the Jewish mass? Yeah, of course. Okay. But there's more stuff now than just that. Yeah. But one of the people who's been listening there for over 10 years, he's put out videos and stuff and says, I went to this based in, and my wife refused to go to that based in, and that based in, I have a get waiting for her at that based in, where she can come up and pick it up whenever she wants. So that guy is, most of the people go, stay quiet. This person, I mean, he's not denying that there's a problem, but he's saying, I went to this based in, she can go and pick up her get. There is a get. Darsh Rav Nachman Bar Chisda, Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda said publicly, according to the public drasha, halacha Rabboseinu, we paskin like the Rabboseinu. Meaning, what's the difference? So, according to the Mishnah, once she starts rebelling, we start chipping away at her ksuva by giving these fines against her. And only once those fines are equal to the amount of her ksuva, they get divorced and she loses her ksuva. Where Rabboseinu are saying, once she starts her rebellion, we're going to announce it for 4 weeks, and if there's no resolution at the end of the 4 weeks, she forfeits her ksuva and they get divorced then. So this Nimnu Rabboseinu that our masters Choser, they reviewed it and made a new vote, and they decided the halacha is not like the Mishnah, but we don't wait for her ksuva value to go down to 0. We wait 4 weeks approximately, and if she stays in her state of rebellion for 4 weeks, they get divorced at the end of those 4 weeks, or 4 Shabbosos, whatever it is. We'll see. We have to learn more. There's Tosos has a different shot in this. Rabbeinu Tam says that so the way I explained Rami Bar Chama just now, that they sent her twice, so that I explained it like Rabbeinu Tam, that according to the first brisa in the Gufa, if you're looking in the English side on the 63b1 on the bottom left paragraph, it only talks about sending her a message once, and then Rami Bar Chama says you send her two. The basin sends her messages before they start and at the end. So and Rav Nachman and Rabbeinu Tam says, and here when Rav Nachman by Chisda says we pass like Rabboseinu, meaning we reject Rami Bar Chama's second statement here, and they only send her a message at the end of the 4 weeks. So according to Rabbeinu Tam, my big vort about their cheretz gets thrown out the window because we don't pass it like it. Okay. Amarava, hi Borcha. To paskin like the Rabboseinu is not right. Rashi says it's something that's not proper. So Amar le Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Mar Baruch say. So what is wrong with him saying that? An Amrita Nehale, I told him this psak, Umishmei de Gavar Rabba Amrita Nehale, and I said it in the name of a great man, Umanu, and who was that? Who did I say in the name of? Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is saying yes, we do what Rav Nachman bar Chisda said is right, that we paskin like Rabbi Seinu, but Rabbi seems to say we don't paskin like Rabbi Seinu. So then we're on 63b2, the fourth line now. V'ihu command savar, but if Rabba doesn't paskin like him, who does he paskin like? Well, obviously he holds like the Mishnah, but he's rejecting the fact that Rabbi Seinu Chazru v'nimnu. But the thing is, if the Chazal made a vote and decided something, then that becomes halacha. So why does he reject the fact that Chazal had a meeting and voted? So kiha de idmar, he follows the following statement. Rava Amar Rav Sheshas, Rava, who's the one who arguing, said the name of Rav Sheshas, halacha nimlachem ba. The halacha is that we try to get her to change her mind. So basically, according to the Rabboseinu, you only have 4 Shabbosos to do it. This Rava in the name of Rav Sheshas that we can't put a time limit on our time for mediation. So we don't make them get divorced immediately. We don't drag it out for years, but it might take more than 4 weeks to have this negotiation and this mediation. So we're not limiting it to 4 weeks. So Rashi says that we don't have the get written right away. We try to get her to reconsider. So in the meantime, her ksuva gets docked 7 dinner in a week. Rav Huna bar Yehuda Amar Rav Sheshes. It happens to be the Gemara saying Rav Huna bar Yehuda said something different in the name of Rav Sheshes. Rava said something in the name of Rav Sheshes. This is a different Amora also saying in the name of Rav Sheshes. Halacha einim lachem ba. The halacha is that we don't try to have a mediation with her. So according to this, we just do so we have 2 opinions on what Rav Sheshes held. If Rav Sheshes held like Rabbi Seinu that we announced for 4 weeks, or Rava held that Rav Sheshes held that we mediate with her and we don't put a limit on 4 weeks. It doesn't say what the upper limit is, but I mean, I think if the basin would realize after a few months and nothing's happening, they wouldn't say like the Mishnah that you keep going until the ksuva is down to 0. So hey chidami moredes. So now, what's the case that she is rebelling? How exactly what does she have to do to become a moredes? Did this mikvah strike for Malki for 2 weeks ago make her into moredes? Did you hear about that, Sam?
Well, just when you say moredes, it just makes me think of everything.
No, but 2 weeks ago, a bunch of women said, some group said that because someone her husband's not giving her a get, so they're going on a mikvah strike. They're going to be withholding marital relations from their husband until Malki gets her get.
I got it.
So that happened 2 weeks ago. So Baruch Hashem, you don't follow the same websites that I do that waste my time. What?
Were they picketing in front of the mikvah?
No.
Not the first time in Jewish history. The Gemara talked about where they did a rebellion until they were beaten. Yeah.
So Amar Amemar said, Amar Ba'inale Mitzarinale. She say, I want to be married to him, but I want a cousin Tsaris. So that's why I'm doing this. But if she says he's disgusting to me, then we don't force her. So meaning when she says I want to be married by him, but I want to muchi him, I want to make his life miserable, then we reduce the amount of her ksuva as to try to force her to reconsider. But when she says he's disgusting to me, so clearly she doesn't want to stay married to him. So in that case, Rashi says she's in effect saying, I don't want him and I don't want his ksuva either. Let him just divorce me and I'm foregoing my ksuva. So in that case, we don't even try. If that's what she says, we're not going to try to change her mind. So Rashi says we don't delay. He gives her a get, and she doesn't get a ksuva. So she can't use it as a pressure to get divorced and get her ksuva. If she wants to use it as a tactic, she could use it as a tactic, but she doesn't get her ksuva. Mar Zutra Amar Kafina Le. But Rabbi Zutra says even in the case where she said he's disgusting to me, we still delay a few weeks and reduce her ksuva in effect to try to get her to change her mind. Though there was an incident, the Achbe Mar Zutra, and Mar Zutra, where a woman said that I don't want him, he's disgusting to me, and Mar Zutra was reducing her ksuva by the 7 dinner in a week. Unafak mine Reb Chanina Misura, and Reb Chanina Misura came out of it. So the pashtus of this is that she, in the end, the husband and the wife reconciled, and because of that, they had a great Talmid Chacham became their son.
So if they reconcile, the money goes back to Kesuvos?
I don't think so, because in the interim, she wasn't doing what she was supposed to. But if she stopped, meaning there was a fine. While you're not in compliance, you're getting a fine. Once she came back into compliance, there's no additional fine. They'll have a zoning thing. If you do something wrong, the village will give you a certain fine every day that it's not thing. But once you meet in compliance, they stop fining you more. Whatever they find you, you have to pay. So same thing. So if she lost $25 from her ksuva, whatever it was, so she lost $25 from her ksuva, but she doesn't lose more. Velohi, but this Gemara is saying it's not true that Reb Chanina Misura was a child of this case where Mar Zutra didn't let them get divorced right away. Hasam Siyata Dishmayahu. There it was divine providence that caused Reb Chanina Misura to give birth or to be born from that. Actually, that it was Siyata Dishmaya that she changed her mind. It wasn't because of a rabbinic intervention, I guess. Kalse de Rav Zvid Imruda. The daughter-in-law of Rav Zvid rebelled against her husband. Havatfisa Chad Shira. She grabbed one silk robe. Yasef Ameimar. So meaning this was something that was part of her ksuva. So because she was holding it, she was not forfeiting her ksuva because they couldn't get it away from her. Yasef Ameimar Mar Zutra Rav Ashi. So there was, I don't know if this is literally a based in, but there was Ameimar, Mar Zutra, and Rav Ashi. The article says they were the based in. The Yasef Rav Gavda Gabayhu, and Rav Gavda was sitting by them. Yasef Kamri, they were sitting and saying, Marda Hifsida Blosea Kaiman. When the woman rebels, if she has worn out clothes, but she still has it, she also no longer has those worn out clothing. Now, the worn out clothing, you can't wear it as clothes, but you could do some other stuff with it. So she clearly wasn't going to wear it, but in general, they're saying the halacha that her worn out clothing that she still has, she doesn't deserve that either. Amr Rav Gamda says, Mishum Rav Zid Gav Rabba Mechan Fisu Leib, just because Rav Zvid is a great man, you're confiding him, you're flattering him and saying that that she is not correct in keeping that silk robe. Rav Kahana, but Rav Kahana says, Mi boy Rav Avlo Pashat. Rav Kahana said, Rava had a question, does she get to keep it or not? Or does she forfeit it or does she get to keep it? And he didn't know the answer. And you're paskening that she does not get to keep it. That's better for the case of Rav Zvid's son, who will get to keep a little bit more the value of this clothes. Igda Amri, some say the story was a little bit different. Yasvi Amri, they were sitting and saying, Marda lohif sidabasa kaiman. If she rebelled, she does not lose for worn out clothing that we still have, that they haven't thrown out yet. So she gets to keep it. Amr Rav Gamda says, as we turn to Samach Dal Amar Aleph, Mishum Rav Zvid Gavar Abahu. Ich pisule ledina ilave, just because Rav Zvid is a great man, you are going to turn the halacha against him, meaning Rav Zvid, even though he knew the halacha, but he wasn't going to argue with this great basin of Maimar, Marzutra, and Rav Ashi. Amar Rav Kahana mi Rav Pashat. Rav Kahana says that Rava had this question and it was not, he didn't know the answer. So the Gemara says, Haslo idmar lahachi v'lahachi, because we don't know if the halacha is this way or that way in regard to does she get to keep the worn out clothes or not. Tafsa Allah mafkinamina. If she grabbed it, we can't take it away from her. Lo tafsa le'avinala. If she doesn't have it, we don't give it to her. Because according to the opinion that because of her rebellion, she has given up her rights to this worn out garment. To mashina le'treser yachishate agita. And we ever wait 12 months before giving her the get, and in those 12 months, she does not get support, food, etc., from her husband. Okay, we'll leave it here. Time for mincha.